If you observe carefully, the past does not exist anywhere except in the memory. Yet how many lives are being governed, sometimes even ruined, by events that are no longer real? A woman may walk through the present, smiling, working, engaging with life, but internally she could still be living inside a moment of betrayal, heartbreak, or trauma that occurred years ago. That is the nature of psychological memory. It may have no physical weight, but it can be heavier than steel. When we speak of the past as a weight, we are not speaking metaphorically. It is truly a weight on your energy system. Just as carrying a physical load will tire the body, carrying emotional baggage exhausts your life energies. It blurs your perception, distorts your choices, and dulls your capacity to feel joy, to trust, and to experience love fully. Often people think they're being cautious when they hold on to past pain. But this is not wisdom, it is fear disguised as protection. You cannot build a bridge into the future if your feet are still nailed to what was. Many people live as if the past is a shadow that must follow them. But it is not so. The past only follows you when you keep dragging it along. If you let go, you will see there is no shadow, only light. A woman who lets go of the past is not erasing her story. She is simply refusing to live by a script that no longer serves her growth. Pain is not the enemy, clinging to it is. Now understand this. Letting go is not an act of denial, it is an act of clarity. It is a conscious decision to stop investing energy into something that does not bring you aliveness. If you planted a seed and it never grew, would you keep watering it forever? No, you would plant again somewhere else with fresh soil. That is intelligence. In the same way, if a certain memory or emotional pattern has yielded only suffering, why keep nourishing it with your attention? When you release this invisible weight, you will begin to feel a new kind of lightness within yourself. It is not excitement, it is not emotional high, it is clarity. You will begin to see people and situations for what they are, not what your wounds say they are. Love will no longer be filtered through suspicion, anxiety, or fear. It will arise naturally like fragrance from a flower that has opened on its own. Not forced, not manipulated, but simply free to be. This is the power of letting go. Not as an idea, not as a practice, but as a way of being. A woman who walks unburdened by her past becomes magnetic, not because she is trying to attract love, but because she has become love in its purest, most unpolluted form. There is a fundamental difference between memory and experience. Memory is like the ash left behind after a fire. It tells you something burned, but it is no longer the flame. Experience, on the other hand, is alive. It is happening now. But for most people, what they call experience is only memory being replayed with different characters and situations. A woman who has suffered pain in the past often walks through life with that imprint deeply embedded in her system. When she meets someone new, she doesn't truly meet them. She meets them through a filter of what others have done before. Her reactions are not based on what is happening in the moment, but on what she fears might happen again. She thinks she's protecting herself, but she is actually closing herself off from the richness of life. Love cannot enter such a space, because love only happens where there is openness. Memory, when left unmanaged, becomes a tyrant. It governs how you feel, how you respond, and how deeply you allow yourself to connect. It is important to understand memory is useful for survival, but it is not a tool for love. Memory helps you remember where you live, how to drive a car, how to cook a meal. But memory cannot help you experience the present moment fully. It can only give you comparison, fear, and resistance. Suppose a woman was once deeply hurt by someone she trusted. That event is now in the past, but the emotional echo continues. She meets someone new, and suddenly her system is alert. Not because this person has done anything wrong, but because her memory says, be careful. If she is not conscious, she will not experience this moment with clarity. She will react as if the old story is repeating itself, even if it's not, and in doing so, she will miss the opportunity to know love as it is, fresh, untainted, alive. Life happens now. Love happens now. If you try to carry the fragrance of a flower from 10 years ago, all you have is a dry stem. It has no beauty, no scent, no life. It requires courage to sit with someone and not let memory speak louder than your heart. But that is the only way love can breathe. So it becomes essential to learn the art of being present, not by force, not by suppression of memory, but by seeing clearly that memory is a dead thing. It is the residue, not the reality. The more you live in memory, the less life you have. A woman who sees this truth begins to turn inward. She begins to clean the lens through which she sees the world. Then love doesn't have to be found, it flows, because the blockages are gone and what is real can finally enter. Emotional entanglement is not just about attachment to another person. It is a web you spin within yourself. When a woman goes through pain, betrayal, rejection, or abandonment, it leaves an imprint, not only on her mind, but in the very way her energies move. That pain, if not consciously resolved, becomes a knot, an emotional knot that ties her to that person, that situation, or even to a version of herself that no longer exists. And when you are knotted inside, no matter how free you appear on the outside, your inner space remains restricted. Entanglement means you are no longer responding to life as it is. You are being pulled in different directions by invisible threads from the past. One part of you wants to love, another part is afraid. One part wants to trust, another part remembers being betrayed. So you say yes, but your heart says no. You smile, but your spirit is guarded. In this state, you cannot experience love as a natural flow. You only experience it as effort, as management, as something that needs to be controlled. What most people do not realize is that these emotional knots are not formed by others. They're formed by our own resistance. When something painful happens and we resist it, avoid feeling it fully, or refuse to accept it, we trap that energy inside us. We keep revisiting it mentally, emotionally, sometimes even verbally, telling ourselves or others the same story over and over again. Every time we do this, we tighten the knot. We are not processing the pain, we are reinforcing it. Letting go of emotional entanglement is not about forgetting people or pretending events did not occur. It is about releasing your need to derive identity from pain. Sometimes, unknowingly, a woman begins to define herself through her wounds. She says, I am the one who was left, or I am the one who was never chosen. But this is not who she is. This is only what she experienced. An experience is not identity, it is just life's passing moment. Freedom begins the day you recognize that the past does not need to hold your emotional energy anymore. That person who hurt you may not even be in your life now, yet you carry them like a ghost in your emotional body. Why? Because something in you still seeks closure, justice, or understanding. But love is not born out of justice, it is born out of clarity. And clarity means realizing that your energy is too precious to be tied to what has already ended. The process of untangling begins with awareness, then acceptance, and finally, a conscious release, not a forced one, but a graceful one.